Hi everybody, Creative Katie here. Welcome to my studio and my YouTube channel. Today I'm super excited to share with you this thrift store find. I found this recipe binder that I am going to turn into an art journal. And I thought, you know what? I bet you it would be helpful if I went through step by step what I look for when I'm looking for an altered book, whether it's a binder like this one or another altered book. So I'm going to give you some tips on what you can look for at a garage sale, at a thrift store, so that you can create your own altered art journal book. So here is the recipe binder that I got at the thrift store. $3 Canadian. I absolutely love it and I'm so excited. Now I looked to see that it has a hard cover. It's not plastic, it is wood. It does have a shiny surface and we're going to talk about that when I redo this. The inside is just paper and I'm going to have to cover this up. Now it has 50 pages of paper. Now the paper, when I'm looking for an altered book, whether it's a recipe card binder like this or an altered book like this or this, I'm looking for paper that is thick, a little thicker. This one's probably the lightest weight of all of them, and smooth, because I know that that's going to take paint well. This one is very smooth and it is a heavier weight paper. This one and it's stitched. If it's a regular book, I want it to be stitched, as is this one. This one, I can take the pages in and out, so we're avoiding the stitching. But the pages are heavier weight and they're nice and smooth. So I'm thinking right off the bat, I'm not going to have to start gluing pages together, because I'm sorry, that is not the way I want to spend my crafting minutes at all. So I want to avoid gluing pages together. If I have to put gesso on it to block off something that's here, or in an altered book, if I don't want all of this, I don't mind putting a coat of gesso on. But with this one, I feel like I really lucked out, because basically these are blank pages. There is hardly any type on here. You can easily cover that up with whatever you're going to do on the page. So potentially, if it stands up, if paint goes on this well, I don't have to gesso these pages unless I need to gesso in order to do a certain technique. So I have 50 pages of this lovely smooth paper. I also have 6 different dividers, which we're going to repurpose. I figure if in an art journal I can have different themes. Oops, 6. Yeah, 6 different ones. So I will show you how we're going to repurpose that. It also comes with 2 soft acetate sheets, and I'm thinking, okay, well, that can just go in the, and I'm thinking, no, for smooshing, for putting on ink and putting it on the page, I can utilize those. Then it came with 6 envelopes. And I thought, okay, well, I could put stamps in there. I can put some of my sentiments in here as I'm working on it. If I'm doing a particular theme, like I did in my quote journal, the perseverance theme, all the perseverance quotes could go in one of these, and then it's just ready to go. So I'm thinking, okay, so I can reuse these in my art or my organization. I can reuse these acetate sheets. I can use the dividers and repurpose them, and I can use these sheets. So I wanted to test one of the pages And so I'm just going to put paint on how I like to put paint. And I like using makeup sponges to spread paint on there. I want to see how quickly it soaks into the paper, if the paper warps, what have you. So this is going to give me an idea of what I might have to do to all the pages to prep them, or what I don't have to do. So I'm just putting some Naples yellow on here and quinacridone magenta, and it's going on fairly smoothly and easily. It is absorbing into the paper because it's raw paper. If you put a coat of gesso, it becomes kind of a non-porous surface, and you can move the paint a little bit more and blend it a little bit more. So while I'm not necessarily going to have to gesso these pages to cover anything or to get the paint to go on nice and smoothly, I may choose to at some times put a coat of gesso on in order to have the paint move a little bit more, give me a little bit more open time. But I don't have to do it to all the pages at all. So I'm just putting the color on here. Here I'm just going to layer more color, and right off the bat I'm noticing this paper is not warping. It dries fairly quickly. It's not pilling at all. So I'm very happy with my choices. This paper is going to stand up to whatever I plan on throwing at it. So I'm just really just doing basically a background here as on the screen. Just, very simply putting, paint on here and seeing how it works. And I'm really impressed. The smoothness of the paper allowed me to blend. And again, no pilling, no warping. And it's doing a really great job of hanging or taking the medium that I often art journal with. Lots of times I do layer this up as you see me here with stencils, with the colors. I like to blend the colors on the paper. And I'm able to do all of that on this raw paper. So in a matter of a few minutes, I have a background that I love. And you can see how that paper has not warped. I cannot believe it. I'm so thrilled with this paper. I'm just loving this background pages. I'm just going to put that aside. Now, if you wanted to get rid of if there was a lot of script or a lot of writing on a page that you can take the pages out of, one way to apply gesso quickly and easily is to use your gel plate. You simply take the gesso, spread it on there, brayer it on your gel plate, and then place the paper down there. Now, depending on the coverage that you want, you will do this once or twice to get the coverage that you want. But it is quick and easy, and when you're doing a lot of pages, nothing beats this way. I would hesitate and question whether you should use gesso that's very gritty. You may want to test that out to be sure that you're not going to damage or scratch your gel plate. But I've done this before with my gel plate, and I've had no problems with my smoother gesso. So I'm not doing a whole lot of these pages, but I am showing you how you could prepare them. Now, since we have the gel plate out, what you can also do is do some jelly printing right onto some of those pages. Remember, it comes out of that binder, which is absolutely great. So I can use stencils or stamps or mark making tools and then just place it on the gel plate and get that very unique gel print on as the first layer of some of my pages. So I'm going to, when I open up my binder, I've got some raw pages, some gessoed pages, some that have the first layer of colors or gel prints on them. And then depending on my mood, I can pick one or the other to do. So I have options. This also helps when I have some pages that are in different stages of being done. I might not have an hour to do an art journal page. but I have 15 minutes. And if I'm working on, in a background that's pretty much done, that's enough time to do that. So there's a colored page. So I could have a collection of those in the binder. Now, if I wanted to get rid of some of the print, there's nothing saying you have to gesso the entire page. Where you put gesso will react differently to the paint that you add than where you don't put gesso. And that gives kind of a unique effect. It gives some interest to your page. So here's another page that I did a background. So some of the pages I may have completely done the background. All I need is a focal point and a sentiment and some fine tuning, and I could be almost done. So again, in my binder, I'm going to have some blank sheets, some gessoed sheets, some gel print sheets, and some backgrounds like this. Now, I wanted to know what else this page could take. I do a lot of collaging with gel mediums and matte mediums and modeling paste. So I did a page, and I will put a link to that video, but let me just tell you, this paper took it all. No warping, and I absolutely loved how it took all the wet mediums and everything that I typically use in my art journal. So I'm just going to put this in the binder, and these are ready for me to art journal some other day. Now you can cut mixed media paper and hole punch it, or watercolor paper, and put it in the binder as well. You have that option with a binder situation. So moving right along, we are going to finish the binder cover. I'm going to show you some considerations. Now it's got a shiny plasticky cover, and when I put gesso on it and paint, it actually scratches right off. So you need to treat this some way before you can put paint on there. I'm not going to go through the work of doing a fancy cover only to have it chip off. Now, one of the things, if it's plasticized, and I've done this with playing cards, is give it a good sanding with a sandpaper. And that's what you see me doing here. It roughs it up, it gives it some tooth so that a coat of gesso will stick to it, and then the paint will adhere. Now, if you are going to do this way, I'm going to show you a different way, but if you're going to do it just sanding, then you do need to put a coat of gesso before you put paint to prepare the material. Now, I'm uncertain what I'm doing at this time to the front because it's still very shiny and I'm not sure I'm just wanting to gesso it. So I decided, I know the inside cover I have to gesso to get rid of this text and this lovely yellow color. So I sanded around the edge because there's some of that, what we saw on the front. Now, on the back here, they have these metal portions. Now, you could paint around that, but I have decided to do something that solves the problem of the shiny, plasticky kind of paper and that metal part. So what I'm going to do is take some dollar store tissue paper, I crumple it up, and I'm going to glue it down with liquid matte medium. You could use gel medium as well if you wish. And I'm putting a liberal amount of it, and I'm putting the sheet on, and then I'm covering it with the matte medium. And you can see it ripped a little bit. Don't worry, because I am going to be putting multiple layers of tissue paper. So what I've done in this process, I do 2 at a time. I put the one on, kind of cut it to size a little bit, and then I'm putting the other one on, just like you see me doing here. Now this is going to it's going to adhere to the sanded surface, and it is going to allow me to use whatever paints I want. It's also going to add some wonderful texture to the cover that I do, which if you watch any of my things, you know I love the texture. So I'm putting that on. After I get 2 and it's dry, I'm trimming off the excess. And then I'm just going to glue that down into the inside cover. I'm thinking right now that I may be using some gel prints on the inside of the cover. Haven't really formalized my plan. And the video showing how I design the cover and what I do on the inside flap is going to be a separate video. This video is getting a little bit long, and this gives you a good basis on how you can use your altered book and finish it. So I'm just gluing those down with the gel medium, folding it over, making it nice and flat, making sure the edges are covered. Now, once I have enough layers, and I think I have 4 layers of tissue paper, I am giving this a good coat of gesso. That is going to block off any images that you see that are still peeking through the 4 layers of tissue paper, and basically give me a blank canvas, if you will, to work on. And you can just see that lovely texture. I'm going on the inside and I'm giving this another coat of gesso just to make sure that it's all ready. And then once I have the front and the back all gessoed to the level that I want, however many layers it takes so I can't see what's underneath it, I'm going to let it sit for a couple days and really, really, really dry before I start adding any other wet medium on top of it. So here you have the finished binder cover that's been covered with tissue paper, a blank canvas. Be sure to subscribe and select the option to be notified, and you won't miss when this video comes out. Bye for now.